Hello guys, I wanted to talk to you about a Pew Research Center poll that was released. It was released today on the 27th, and it was conducted back in June, and it's rather disheartening. I just wanted to discuss it a little bit. The subject was social media and its role in social media and how people perceive it, both politically and just in how they handle information in news. So, for example, apparently 47%, nearly half of Americans, favor more government regulation over tech companies, specifically social media. And that is... So out of 100%, 47% of Americans favor more regulation, nearly half, while 39% don't have an opinion one way or the other. They say it should stay the same. And 11% are in favor of less regulation. So in a country with as much free market capitalism as we have in America, you have a whopping 47% who favor more regulation of tech companies, and you have only 11% who wish there was less regulation. So that's a dramatic difference there. Then you have this other poll that says that 64% of Americans say that social media negatively affects the direction of the country. And of that 64%, they also get into political affiliation. So, 3/4 of Republicans think that social media it negatively affects the direction of the country, while half of Democrats and people leaning Democratic think that social media negatively affects the direction of the country. So whether you're Republican, Democratic, or anywhere in the middle, at least half of you believe that social media negatively affects the direction of the country and where we're headed, and 3/4 of you if you're Republican. So 73% say that social media censors viewpoints they disagree with. That's nearly 3/4 who believe firmly that social media, or say it's likely that social media censors viewpoints they disagree with. And if you follow anything about news relating to Twitter and their censorship and their ideology, it seems very credible, especially with Twitter. Twitter seems like the one that gets the most heat for it, and they mostly deserve it, I would say. So then you have this poll where 54%, that's over half, believe that social media should not allow political ads on their platform. That seems reasonable too. I mean, I understand where people are coming from, but if you allow political ads on social media, you also got to question any form of political ad and why it's different on social media. And that leads to the last poll I want to discuss, which is that 77% of Americans polled say that social media leverages their say that the idea of social media leveraging their user data for political ads is very unacceptable, or not at all acceptable. More or less the same thing. So the reason I could say that half of Americans think that social media shouldn't allow political ads on their platforms is because 3/4 of Americans believe that they're using user data and, how you interact with whatever social media site, what you search, who your friends are, who your circles are, what you follow, that your social media site of choice is using that information to target you with specific political ads. So yeah, I mean, you could say that political ads on a social media site are much more targeted than what you would find on in traditional media through your newsprint or your TV ads. You got TV ads where they target specific regions of the country, but they don't know the specific individual. When you watch TV, they don't know who's watching. They just know what region of the country it is, and they decide, do I put more media buys in this area, or do I take media, or do I put it elsewhere? They have an idea of your political affiliation depending on the region of the country, but they can't target it to the household and to the user. So yeah, in general, it's another scathing review of social media companies and the ways that people think that they've overstepped their bounds and what they're doing to influence this country. And there were other polls relating to whether social media companies have a role in censoring content or controlling content that is misleading or untrue. News sources or things that are just outright lies, and really I'll acknowledge that those polls were on there too. I didn't cover all of them, but I will say that any news source that, we live in I believe in freedom of speech, and I believe that as long as you're not openly calling for violence towards a person or a group of people, as long as you're not openly calling for violence against, or as long as you're not making threats or calls for violence against a person or a group of people, you should be allowed to say what you want, no matter how ridiculous it is. So, as you might imagine, when you hear, things like how social media has treated Alex Jones in recent years, how they banned everything he does on Twitter and Spotify and Facebook and YouTube. That is a bad road that we're heading on. And I think a lot of Americans would agree that we're heading on a bad road. It just seems like Democrats are more in favor of censoring hate speech or misleading or conspiracy theories, while Republicans seem more okay. Democrats seem in favor of censorship through social media of anything hate speech, misleading news, fake news. Democrats seem overwhelmingly more in favor of controlling that information, while Republicans seem much more in favor, Republicans in general are much more against, or they believe more that that social media is harming the country and sending us in the wrong direction. So there's a little bit of different perspective there depending on your political leaning. But in general, these polls show that Americans agree a lot more on social media than they disagree. Anyway, just wanted to share that with you guys. We'll be in touch.